spent my first 15 years trying to get out of the woods because I thought it was horrible. And I spent the next 20 years trying to get back. The truth of the matter is we need to be well-rounded individuals like our forefathers were.
Chimes dancing on the breeze, just living right and being free. Maybe it's just me. 'Cause you can't break a broken heart. You can't tear it to pieces. I can't hear you. What happened?
Now everyone can hear me. So I just said one of the most awesome things ever, and now it's over. You know,
and I missed
because it was on mute. That's how it works. But hey, if that doesn't get you out on the dance floor, rubbing bellies together, listening to that, I don't know what will, man.
Rubbing bellies. It's supposed to be other stuff, but as we get a little older, it tends to be bellies.
You nailed it. For me, it's rubbing bellies. That's what it is right here. Welcome, everybody, to Mountain Readiness Mondays. We are live, of course, coming live from Appalachian here in North Carolina. Looks like we got a bunch of great folks over there. We got Diana. We got FIB Preparedness. Who else we got over here? Let's just give some love. Burke Spring. Howdy. John Latz, looking forward to May. Looking forward to seeing you, John. Looking forward to seeing you out there. Micah's dad. Man, we just got, let's see, Mountainside Homestead over in Hot Springs, North Carolina, in my neck of the woods. So, Amy Jennings. But hey, guys, tonight we have a professional recording artist. We've never had the chance to actually sit down and chit-chat. I know I've talked with your wife, Holly, all the time, who is awesome, by the way. I'm sure she's back there in the background. She should actually be on a live herself. She just won't do it. I don't know why she won't do it. But she's guys, Anthony is awesome. He's like part of our kind of part of our community, and he'll be at Mountain Readiness this May doing a set on Saturday night, acoustic, unplugged, raw, real, cutting edge. I'm really looking forward to that and getting to meet you guys in person. So welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thank you so much. I'm pretty excited to be here. It's weird having friends that you've never met. It's the strangest thing living in this technological, I grew up with, for a long time, we didn't have a TV. And even when we got one, we weren't allowed to watch it. So we were outside all the time. So
speaking of upbringing, I was speaking with your lovely wife, Holly, and it appears that we have a whole lot in common of our upbringing.
I think so.
It sounds like so. Music background. I myself, I still play music. Nothing to your level. There was a day I was decent, but that ship has sailed. Everybody has their calling, right? But construction background. You started out as a brick mason. which that was my very first job as well.
Really?
And homeschooled a lot of your days, and that would explain the no TV privileges.
Well, and the pretty severe Christianity that we were involved in, which, you know, I'm not mad about. I ended up a whole different kind of person than most people are, just because of the sheltered kind of thing. No matter how you believe, I think there's a lot of value in being sheltered and being a person more like what your parents are like than what the Disney Channel people are like. So I'm pretty proud of how I grew up.
You know, and that was another thing that we had in common is growing up, my mother was Pentecostal, and my father, of course, was he was not either or. His parents was my grandfather was Catholic, and my grandmother was Baptist. So you can tell what kind of household that was. A lot of turmoil there between the Baptist and the Catholic. But we grew up singing in, you know, Pentecostal churches and traveled on the road doing that kind of stuff, which that's a whole nother world. But on the homeschooling thing, you know, we were the same way, man. The television didn't exist. Well, for that matter, electricity didn't exist, so it's hard to watch TV. But it's a much more fulfilling childhood, I think. You know, you said sheltered, and I agree. We were the same way, very sheltered, but at the same time, our interactions with adults all the time, you know, being around the older crowd. I know I was. You know, we didn't have, you would think that being sheltered like that, you would have these issues of speaking and communicating with other people, but that wasn't the case for us. What about you guys?
No, it's the same way. And not just adults, but 2, 3, 4 generations ahead. In the small Pentecostal churches, we were Church of God and Assembly of God. We went between the two, and in those small little ecosystems, there were a few kids and quite a few in the middle of the road, and then a lot of gray-haired type people that were way out of, you know, not in my age range, but there were so few of us, and we were such a small, happy community that you know, you grow up and you understand that people are just people, no matter the age, and you kind of get even though there's a respect factor that obviously you have, you're not scared of.
And I think that's a really neat, a thing that's lost a lot of times in the little TikTok generation is interacting with that older generation. Their whole culture, that things will be just completely lost, I think. And Holly and I, a few years ago, started going to bluegrass festivals, which we really love doing. And it's a lot like that at those. So there are a lot of older people, which, you know, I'm getting on up there myself. So but I feel like a young
there, and it's neat.
You know, I got to ask, how old are you, Anthony?
I'll be 49 in August.
Okay, so we're just a couple years apart then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 45 was a turning point for me. You know, when I hit 45, like all the way up to then, I was good, a little crick and ache, and you know, but 45, I instantly woke up tired. I was like, "Whoa,
really?
What happened?" You know? Oh yeah, it was rough for me. Yeah, maybe you just lived cleaner than I did.
I don't know if I do. I do most of the time, but 1 or 2 days a week, I kind of make up for it. So,
right, get out there and that. So, what is so born and raised Texas? Then your entire life, you always in the state of Texas.
So I was born in Lone Star, Texas, which is I know you don't know where Lake of the Pines is, but it's a man-made lake that was built in the 40s, 50s. Lone Star is a town that was built around a steel mill called Lone Star Steel, which we got one of my songs is about. It's historical fiction about that. But that whole area sprung up after World War II just because of that steel mill, and the lake was put in for the steel mill and all that. So it's a really neat piece of history that I had no idea when growing up. I thought Lone Star Steel was named after the town and Ore City, which is the school I went to. I had no idea of the historical significance of all that. So
that is awesome. And Lone Star Steel, that was a great song too. And if I'm not mistaken, I've got wrote down here because that one there, where's my notes? 2.1 million listeners that reached.
Is that right? Wow.
That's what it says, man. So I mean, you're supposed to know that, but yeah, over 2.1 million listeners. For
I like
Lone
you
Star
saying
Steel.
that. I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds good.
If it isn't, then Holly lied to me.
Well, she's never lied to me yet, as far as I know. But she's smarter than me. That's the problem with hanging out with somebody that's an order of magnitude smarter than you. Is you never really know.
I have the same issue. Amber, she's way more intelligent than I am. You know, I'm just the muscle. She's the, the brains.
For sure.
Is how that worked out.
That's exactly how it works in this house.
But hey, everybody has their calling, I guess. Man, we were talking about Pentecostal. I haven't been in a Pentecostal church in many, many moons. We used to be all over the place, especially the southern areas, Louisiana, which is where my mother is from, Pineville and Lafayette, Alexandria.
Yeah.
But the song popped in my head, and now it just keeps going around. You remember it was for the Pentecostal church. It was like, I am a one God, apostolic tongue, conquer holy road, born again in heaven, bound to believe in the liberated power of Jesus' name. You remember that real fast?
Yeah, there were quite a few of those that were almost like rapping.
It was, that's the Pentecostal rap, Pentecostal gangster rap.
I was just thinking of one the other day. I can't remember what it is now that I'm on the spot. But I had another one of those that I remembered after not thinking about it for 40 years. And those are neat. Those songs,
all those.
They're neat how they stick with you. Songs in general are neat how they stick with you.
Yeah, there was another one I was just thinking of. It was something about going down to the river. Man, I'll think of it before the night's over. It's been, it's one of those things that just pops up. You start talking about something and it just pops up. Music does that though. It does. It's something about music that just it will take you back, 30 years, and out of nowhere you'll just remember this little spot.
So you were in a little band, huh?
Oh man, we did. My mother, she recorded a couple albums. She had a wonderful voice, still does. But we would at that time, they were on cassette tape, so we had just these big boxes of cassette tapes, and we would travel around to all these different churches and set up. We'd have just a little booth at the exit of the church, and we would sing, and then she would sell her tapes, and that was kind of just part of what we were doing. We were growing up. We ended up at the Jim Ed Brown Theater in Nashville, Tennessee. I believe I was 15 years old, and that theater I believe is gone now. I don't even think it exists anymore. But that theater, they booed Garth Brooks out of that theater years ago.
Really?
So yeah, he was actually saying there.
That makes me so happy, but it kind of does.
Same. Yeah, there was a few decent songs there at first when he first come out, and then he just went down the hill, and then his demeanor in general.
Yeah.
But we, my mother and sister, we all three sang there, and they actually met Vince Gill there. That was before he hit it big. He was at the Jim Brown Theater. So small world. I also heard you had a gentleman from Glenn Campbell's band that was on your.
We did. We talked to Jeff Dayton a couple weeks ago. He's a really good guy, and evidently he liked my music. So he liked Glenn Campbell's music, and then he also liked my music. So, I think that's made
awesome.
It. Plus with the 2.1 million listeners.
That 2.1 million puts it over the top.
It does. And then Glenn Campbell, like being, at least in one context, being on the same page as Glenn Campbell. That's pretty neat.
I worked for this in Redmond, Indiana, and yes, Pentecostal auctioneer. There you go. That song that's what that is. That's like Pentecostal auctioneering. I worked for Tom Raper RV. It's like the largest RV dealership in the Midwest, and I was a service tech there. I was 18 years old at the time, and I remember they had these get-togethers where they would bring in the old country music recording artists, and he built this huge facility for everybody to bring their RVs. That if you bought an RV from him, you could come to these get-togethers he would have every year. And that year he had Dottie Rambo and Glenn Campbell that I was working there. Wow. So I was out there setting up. I still got the newspaper clipping of setting up their sound systems. I run the lighting for Dottie Rambo, and wow. I got to hang out back. I don't know why they made me security. I mean, you know, everyone there was like 70 plus years old, but yeah. Glenn Campbell, I was security backstage and got to sit down with Glenn and played his electric 12 string. You know, he let me pick around on it a little bit. He was feeling pretty good. You know, Glenn liked to drink just a little bit, but
I've heard that.
Still a great show, man. Mm-hmm. It was one of those times, you know, just being right there next to the guy. I thought he was an amazing singer. He was. He really amazing was. And
an amazing guitar player, just musician all around. So,
yes.
Yeah. I'm big
yeah,
fan.
No doubt about that. So, what is, let's see here. I know we had a question up here. Let's see what the live has here on the questions, because I saw a couple starred ones up here. There we go. Do you think having older folks made you a better communicator?
Well, I do think that, because you have to kind of figure out who you're talking to, first of all. So in front of a crowd, like when the spotlight's on and I'm talking when I'm playing a set, I'm not really talking to a person, but I think it made me more of a listener, because when you're talking to an old person, they can't always hear you. So you have to you have to do more listening than you do talking a lot of times.
Right.
And honestly, it doesn't matter as much what you have to say in that context. So I learned that really early, that, you know, a conversation is really more about listening than it is talking, which, you know, makes me not the greatest interviewee, but it makes me a good interviewer. So.
Oh no, you're top notch, Anthony. I've watched some of those clips and shorts and stuff. Now, I think you nailed it there, though, is that the answer is, of course, it makes you a better listener, because they go upside your head if you interrupt them. You know, that's how it was. That's how it was with my father. You know, my father would be 90 years old this year. Mm-hmm. And there was no cutting that guy off ever. You know, yes, sir, no, sir. Can I speak now, sir? Yes, I'm going to clean my plate. I remember all my bosses. I went to work, you know, doing the Mason thing when I was 14, and I can still hear the old boy yelling across. He beat on his pan, you know, his trowel pan, and he's like, dollar waiting on a nickel, Bobby. Get me that mud, you know. 1,000 times. Dollar waiting on a nickel.
My papa was a bricklayer, and my dad's a bricklayer, and my grandmother would make the mud and bring the brick to my papa. And my dad would have my grandma's sister that would make his mud and keep his brick on the scaffold. So when I got out of high school, that's all I'd ever done. I'd work in the summers with them. Hard work. It was sand in the places sand's not supposed to be.
Yes.
And here at least, it's worse in the winter than it is in the summer, because it's just so bone cold. Your hands are wet all day and from the mud. And so I got a job moving trailer houses. I took a big step down and went to work for a guy who would go in, hook up to these trailer houses, and I'd slide under and pull the blocks out. So I did that for a summer, and I was so happy to get back to laying brick. And when my uncle decided he'd hire me, that was the best job ever for a long time, because the moving trailer houses job is so much worse.
Right.
So much worse.
You know, isn't it crazy that when it comes to jobs like that, I've always been in manual labor, because, you know, I quit school when I was 14, dropped out. You know, we were homeschooled, but I told my father, it's like, this school thing ain't for me. I'm going to work. And, you know, he's like, if you're not going to school, then you're definitely going to have to do some work. So I went to work for the old mason at the bottom of the hill. I'd walk down 4:30 a.m., walk all the way about a mile down the hill in Arkansas, outside Arkansas, Bruno, Arkansas. We would live between Mountain Home and Harrison, out in the middle of nowhere. And I would meet him. I had to be down there by 5:30 a.m. to get picked up, and then he would drop me off at about 5:36 in the evening every evening. And that was 5 days a week. And I thought it was tough, and then you go and get a job that's, sitting on your duff, and then you realize that that's way worse than that manual labor.
Yeah.
My father told me too, he said, son, you can make your money from the neck up or the shoulders down. Take your pick. And of course I picked the shoulders down.
Well, I picked the shoulders down too for a long time. Then I got a job where I worked for a company that worked with Palm Pilot, making school testing stuff on Palm Pilots. So I did some stuff for them, which is all brain work and computer kind of setup stuff, networking kind of stuff. But not too long after doing that a few years and a couple of other jobs where there's not really manual labor, I started working with a neighbor of mine, needed some help pulling some wires in an attic, and I went and helped him on a Saturday, and it's like, this is what I need to be doing. This is fun work. So you're right. There's something about that manual labor. And it's honestly, I'm so much better at that than I am at sitting and thinking through stuff. Because then it kind of turns your brain loose to think about what you want, to sing a song or whatever.
Oh yeah. No, personality wise, like I feel like a caged animal.
Definitely.
In an office. I've done it, the factory jobs where you're in a little cubicle and you hit the double buttons, and then you push the part to the side, and, all these different jobs like that, man. It's just tedious, mindless. And look, it's nothing against anybody by far.
Nope.
It's just, I don't know. I think you're a free spirit, and so am I. I cannot be stuck inside. I'd rather be outside freezing to death or burning to death, one of the two, than to be stuck inside somewhere. I had a job it lasted for a week as a telemarketer. That was entertaining. The whole week for the Indiana State Trooper Benevolent Association, they'd give me the same list, like 200 people. They give me the same list every morning, and I'd have to call these same people who just told me to take a flying leap, the day before, and
Really?
it was horrible. It was the same people I was supposed to harass. I'd call them up, and they were like, I just told you never to call me again. I was like, look, man, I understand they're making me do this. It was, and the 5 days of that, I was like, nah, this just isn't for me.
Hey, I got a question about that. Do they put you on a list if you hang up on them? That's the cops.
I got the exact same list every day to call the same people. And the only people that got taken off that list were people that actually signed up and, donated.
Really?
If you donated, you come off the list. Otherwise, I was supposed to harass people all day long. I was like,
so I can stop being nice to those people when they call? Is that what you're saying?
Not by all means. Every person that I called, I expected to be cussed out right then and there.
Good. I'm going to move in that direction.
Just know that it's not their fault. They're just, but
Right.
at the same time, go get another job. That's what I did.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yep.
Patrick said, I love these modern train hopping hobo street buskers. There's a couple of really good ones out there these days. There is. I agree. I'm going to take that back, Patrick. Like, other than like Anthony, I don't know of a lot of singers currently. Some of these guys, I'm just going to say it, they ain't for me. I'm more of a, I loved Merle Haggard and Waylon Jennings. Like, Waylon Jennings was my favorite. Still is. And Hank and guys like that. This new music just leaves me, I don't know. It's pretty stale. Who's your inspiration? Who is your inspiration?
I grew up listening to, obviously, I'll Fly Away and I Shall Not Be Moved and whatever was in the hymnal. So that's where I started. But it's when I was kind of a teenager, somehow I came across a group of some CDs that my great aunt had, my grandmother's sister, Joy. And so I got those, and they were country music. It was Charlie Pride, and it was like a compilation CDs. They had some Johnny Cash and some Charlie Pride, everything from the 70s or 60s, or best hits of the 60s. And listening through that, it was an awakening for me. And that's not to say that I don't love those other songs, those songs from 100 years ago, but those songs then were just 20 or 30 years old, and they seemed relevant and lyrical. And so from the very beginning, one of those CDs was a James Taylor CD.
Oh,
James Taylor, not a country act, but a Carolina act.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the way he played the guitar. It was so simple, and the way he turned a phrase. There's something about lyrics to me that are special. Lyrics in a song, and especially well sung, but not necessarily well sung. There's just something about a good song so there's that, and then Johnny Cash was a big thing for me, but kind of the same thing. Johnny Cash, I think, bridged the gap from those old timey songs to a more modern 70s and 80s kind of feel, because he sang so many of the old songs from a generation or two ago.
You know, to me, the music then, why it isn't, you know, I don't want to sound like, you know, my grandfather and all that. I mean, it's fine, but you know, the old guy be like, oh, you kids these days, you know, I never wanted to be that person, but here we are. But at the same time, I feel music like, how can I compare it? I make knives, you know, I love bladesmithing, beating on hot steel, but at the same time, you cannot ever create a blade that has not been made before. It's just, for thousands of years, it's been being done. And, you know, for thousands of years, music has been being wrote and done. And I feel like the stuff today, it's just words, with no feeling there, because the old timers, this older country music, these guys actually lived it. You know, they were actually in prison. They actually did all the things that they did in these songs. And today it's just kind of like, you know, going through the motions for me. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Well, I know when I was a younger man, when I was I started playing guitar. I played piano before because my mom played piano, but I got a guitar in my late teens, started playing it, and started writing songs almost immediately, just because I'm a word person and I'm just drawn in that direction. My mom's a songwriter too, but for the first, until I was 30 or so, I wrote songs, and they were just songs. They weren't necessarily songs about me or about anything I'd experienced. I was 30 years old. When you're young, you don't know, but you have nothing to write about. Some people do, but I had a happy childhood, and you know, I still love my mama and daddy, and everything seemed to be really good. So I didn't have a lot of pain to write from. So until I was in my mid-30s, I kind of felt like that. And then I kind of took a detour into bluegrass, learned to play the 5-string banjo, and started sitting in with a bluegrass band. I learned all these old standard songs like you have to do to play bluegrass, and didn't write a song for almost 10 years. Wow. But when I came back to it, it really, I wasn't expecting to come back to it. I remember what happened. My brother Nick, my oldest younger brother, said, "Hey Bones," everybody calls me Bones. Bones, when are you gonna write a song about us, about how we grew up and what it was like? And I remember telling him, I don't really write songs anymore. It's been 10 years, and didn't really think anything else about it. But a couple of weeks later, a song occurred to me, which that had never really been the case before. It just kind of, and it feels like now that it was a gift that God gave me twice. And so the last 3-4 years, I've written a bunch of songs, and they're all about me, and they all feel really authentic, and they come from the place where I'm at, which it's easy to write a song about this imaginary guy that's flirting with this imaginary girl. It's a lot harder to write a song about you and your pain and things you really know about, because that's laying something bare in you that we're not always willing to open up for other people to see. So,
man, that's a great way of putting it. So basically, when you step back from it and you just let it happen, instead of trying to force it on a piece of paper.
Yeah, and I was never trying to force it. I was just trying to write good songs, and some of them were really good. I think, I may be a little biased, but some of them were good songs, but not very many of them really came from my head and not really from my heart and from my people. They weren't stories about me. And these newer songs, the last 30 or 40, have all been really sweet and special to me because they're so authentic.
Well, and there's quite a few that you have here that just come out. Do You One Better, Long Star Steel, here last year. The one That's Just Me. What was your inspiration for that song? That's one of my favorite because I don't know, it's a little more gritty.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is, but the truth, it's just got that hard-hitting truth factor to it for me.
Yeah, it's really authentic. It really, Broken Bow is about 2 hours from here, and I was driving up there to do some work, and that's windshield time is the best time to write. If you're a writer or a creative thinker, when you're driving, and it's easy to listen to the radio, but if you really want to get some thoughts together, you can write a song in a few hours of windshield time. And so just riding along, kind of the first little lines of that, I ain't young and I ain't pretty, kind of came to me because that really was what I was, because I'd been playing in the band, and I kind of wanted to say that, yeah, I'm not 24 and I don't look the way I used to look. I look like me now. So I'm not young and I'm not pretty, and I wasn't all that pretty when I was young. So it just comes from that spot of trying to say something genuine from where I'm sitting right now.
No, it's great. It's great. That second chorus, the line, I think boys are boys and girls are girls, that there, yeah. Really digs in deep. A lot of the things that are going on currently. And for me, that just, it coincides with a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world today.
Yeah.
That's what I really liked about the song. It just, I don't know, that one there, and another thing about music is being able to relate to
right.
that music, and that's kind of, I related to that right there. But, you had something great, and Holly sent this over to me along with that 2.1 million, is a quote. You said, "I want to be brave and honest enough to make music people will be proud of." And I think you nailed it there with these songs that you've been putting out.
Yeah. And I want to be proud of them too. And I don't want to just be somebody who writes good songs. I want to leave part of me. I want to leave a fragment of what it is to be me. And that's kind of what it is to be an artist, is to take the thing that makes you unique and express it and say, here, this is part of me. And I think that's really my goal, is to leave something.
That's awesome. We've got some other comments right here. Let's go through them. When did you start singing, Anthony? Lion Tamer, love it. Keep the hits coming. Awesome.
Lion Tamer. When did I start singing? I grew up on the piano stool beside Mom, so I'm sure I was singing from the beginning. She led the worship in church, and my mom and dad met at my maternal grandfather's church. He was the pastor at the Assembly of God Church, so they met there. So I was just always there and always singing. And when you lead the worship, you're always, when the church doors open, you're there. You're as much as the pastor
up there front
is.
and center.
So I sang at my kindergarten graduation. And so and then when I went back to high school, at the end, I sang at my high school graduation. But I sang at every funeral and every wedding and everyone I ever went to almost. It seems so much so that it seems strange to be there and not at either of those two things and not be singing. Because my dad's a singer. My dad also lead the worship a lot. So.
Oh, nice. So your entire family then. Yeah. My father, he couldn't carry a tune in a bucket now, and he would tell you that. You know,
Really?
He knew 3 chords on the guitar, which he showed me when I first started playing, and other than that, that was it. He could whistle. You know, he was great at whistling, so he could whistle along. He just mom wouldn't allow him to sing along with us.
Well, my dad is my favorite singer, so he's got a few hits that he still will sing at family get-togethers and stuff like that. But
very cool.
But yeah, we used to put I have 3 younger brothers, and we rode around in the back of a '68 pickup with a camper shell on it. Just the 3 of us back there, and the game we would play is a harmony game where one person sings a note and the other 2 have to sing the 2 harmony notes, and if anybody messes up, they get punched. So that was the big game.
You know, I can go along. I think we had a similar game to that.
Yeah.
But it was mainly focused on the punching.
Yeah, the punching. Yeah, the punching.
I have a younger brother and sister.
You got punched anyway. If you're the younger
just
one.
even if you nailed it, you still got nailed right upside the face. What else we got? We got quite a few here. Christy Renee, Mrs. the lovely Christy. Holly's husband, she says. That's hashtag Holly's husband. How long have you had a band? I will assume the current band.
Well, the current band, that's an odd question. Bands are funny things in that they're kind of always in flux. And I had a bluegrass band for 2 or 3 years, and then now I've had this current band. I think we started playing full-on country stuff. I think we've done that since April of 22. I think so. I don't know how long that is, but that sounds like 3 years. And it's been fun, but I will tell you that I miss playing simple music. I hadn't been able to play. It's been such a whirlwind and such a lot of fun playing full band, dance halls, and you know that's a big deal here. I'm not sure if it is everywhere, but everybody likes a 2-step, 3-step, and double 2, and so we go around and do that. But it kind of leaves me missing that thing, that honest thing where a dude stands up or sits down and plays music around a campfire and sing. You know.
Oh yeah,
that seems more like real music in a lot of ways.
And that's what I'm looking forward to in May at Mountain Readiness. We've got you there. It's you, the guitar, Mike, and you know, it is different. It is different when it's like that. I know a lot of your big artists. I think Elvis was one. I believe Hank Jr. have done it a couple times where they just took off and ended up in some pub somewhere with a guitar and sang, you know, half the night. I remember a story of Elvis Presley. He ended up somewhere like that, and he started singing. He was singing gospel music,
right?
And he's like, "Yeah, I just want to sit here and sing, you know, some real music for a change."
Yeah,
and so that's what he did.
You have to do that, and
it is
the big production too. It's hard to hear yourself sing. The bigger the production, it's a whole different thing. You can sing soft and sweet. When it's just you and the guitar, you can kind of stop playing the guitar and you can just sing for a second. It's a really different way of doing. And to be honest, for a long time I only played me and the guitar because the songwriting is a thing that I really love. So and it's easy for me to represent those songs that I love, that I wrote. So
you've got the voice. You've got the voice for it, man.
You think so?
Oh yeah. You know, you have a little bit of what was his name? Long Black Train.
Oh, don't say that.
That you have that low voice like that. You do.
Everybody
you got
says
that super.
That I sound like Josh Turner, but I'm older than Josh Turner, so he sounds like me, if anything.
Oh, touche. Point taken. There you have it. So Josh Turner, if you happen to be tuned in to Mountain Readiness
exactly.
Monday, recognize he had it first. Let's see here. Mr. Pete Robertucci, Holly Tamer. Now he says Holly Tamer.
No, the
Love
opposite
it.
is true.
Yeah, there you go. I'm a fan of older country music. What is your take on the new stuff that's been coming out the last few years, especially collaborations with rappers and pop artists? I mean, you're getting put on the spot.
Well, I don't hate it. I don't hate Florida Georgia Line and any of that kind of bro country. I think it's cool and I think it sounds fun, but I also think there's a big gap between that and Coulter Wall or somebody who's a voice, who's just, I don't know, who just has the grit. One of the biggest compliments I've got was from a fiddle player friend of mine named Ramey Moore, and the first time that he and I started hanging out and playing music, he said, "Boy, you got grit." Talking about my singing voice, and I still think about that. That's one of the nicest things and manliest things that anybody said.
It is. No, that is a thing. That is a thing. You know, you have a very distinct voice.
But it's not just it's not just the voice too. I think you can make plain music, and I think there are people out there doing it. I see people on TikTok. Don't judge me. I like TikTok music. I think there are people out there, young people, who are making simple little songs and singing them on there, and they sound really good. There's just no room on the radio for music like that. It seems like what Nashville and the radio stations are playing now, it's just not what we think of as country music as lovers of that old Merle Haggard kind of thing.
Yeah. Now I don't know. There's a couple of the new ones, but for the most part, I'll go with you. I don't hate it, but I will add the tag, I don't particularly love it. So we'll go with that there.
Okay.
And then my lovely wife, thanks, babe. Only because you're just as deaf as you are blind. That's what that is. I don't think I sounded. There was a day I sang pretty good, but
really?
You know, it's a perishable skill. It's like playing the guitar. I think it is.
Well, I would not know because I sing or whistle all the time. Holly says I'm noisy, which I guess is probably true because I'm always either singing or whistling or thinking of a song. And I don't have a good memory at all. I have no idea what happened last week but I know song lyrics. I know songs. I know a lot of songs. Every song probably made between 93 and 98 in the country music world. I know all the words. And not because I've tried to memorize them. I just know them.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. I got stuck in the rut of chasing pieces of paper with dead people on it, chasing that money and all that kind of stuff and quit listening to music, quit singing. I tell you, back when I lived in Richmond, Indiana, we were in a band, and when you're in a band, it's just, part of your life all the time. Twice a week, Wednesday nights and Friday nights, we were practicing. And then of course on the weekends we were playing whoever would have us. Right. And so, that it was very intertwined. And of course, as a young child and young adult, being on the road singing with mom, and it was, just kind of drifted away from it. I actually had a big gospel group that wanted me to go on the road with them to play bass and sing with them. And I was going to go, of course, Mom, I was only 14 though. And Mom said, nope, last second, she's like, nah, you're too young to start, touring around the United States. So
you'd probably have a whole different life.
It is a perishable skill though. The octaves don't hit as high and hit as hard. At least it is for me. And then of course the guitar is without saying, you lose them. I mean, them calluses, the tops of your fingers, are just big flat spots, not no more. So, Definitely perishable for me. Let's see here. Sandra, have you performed in Branson, Missouri?
I have not. I've only been to Branson once, and it was two springs ago. We went with Cody Norris, the Bluegrass Act, just to kind of hang out. They're friends of ours, so we went and hung out with them, and it was so much fun up there. We went to see the Presleys.
Yeah,
it's a cool show. We had so much fun, and there's so much talent up there. It's just mind-boggling.
Oh, it is.
Is it mind-boggling or mind-boggling?
It's boggling.
That's what
bottling.
I thought.
Yeah,
but everybody says bottling now.
They say bottling.
Yeah,
maybe it's a.
I see people all the time.
See, once again, you new generation are messed up.
Well, they've never read any of these words except for on Facebook.
I'll pop out some of that stuff from, way the mop flops, and people's like, what? What did you just say? I'm like, you never heard way the mop flops? Yeah, I mean, that's the mop flops. That's the way it goes. I don't know where you guys have been for the past 50 years. Let's see here. Who else we got going on here? And then my wife. Oh, now you said you love going to Bluegrass Festival. This is the largest bluegrass festival in the United States, right here in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, Merle Fest. Check it out. Fun. Look it up. You guys ever want to come?
That's a fun
you're more
story.
than welcome. Yeah, I don't know if you have. I don't know if you've ever heard of Merle Fest, but you guys should check it out. It is
I have heard of it. Yeah,
yeah.
We'll try to get booked there, and when we do, y'all can all come see us. So
that's even better. I pulled off. I pulled off Jamie Johnson. I don't know if I can duplicate you. I have to shave, and that's just not gonna happen.
Well, I'm working on my facial hair. I just told Holly yesterday I got to get it on back out because I had a mustache just a few 2 weeks ago, maybe, and shaved it off. But
are you sticking with the mustache? Or are you going to go all the way?
No, I really need to make a decision because my face changes so much with that mustache. I don't know what it does to change my face geometry so much, but I look like a whole different person with it. But I still like it. She hates it. I don't get a kiss for as long as I've got it. So.
Well, mine's the opposite. I remember, about 8-9 years ago, I had a little accident and nicked a chunk of the mustache off, and it was, and so I just shaved everything, and I walked out, and I leaned over and I kissed Amber, and she looked up, and she's like, "Oh," she said, "Get away from me." I'm like,
no
"What?"
way.
And she's like, "I feel like some pedophile or something. Don't even touch me. Grow your beard back out." Because I was clean shaven.
Wow. I feel terrible about my shaved face now.
Yeah, well, it's certain. It depends on the person. Like if I shave, I start getting carded again. I can't even buy, beard.
Really?
Yeah. When I'm 70, I'll shave because then, it'll knock off 30, 40 years.
You think
but
so?
For now, I'm too young. What else we got here? We've got all kinds of comments. Let's see here. Lion Tamer, what's your take on the new worship music and artists?
Well, my brother, my youngest brother is involved is an Assemblies of God minister, and so he's into all that, and he sends it to me all the time. The only thing I like worship music. The only thing I would say about worship music is it just kind of all does a lot of it does the same little doom chicka chicka doom chicka chicka doom chicka chicka doo 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 doo. Like it all feels the same. It all feels like we're doing the same thing over and over.
Same tempo, same rhythm.
It seems like it. So
I agree.
I don't like that much homogeneity.
Is that a word? Man,
that's a homeschool word right there.
That's a homeschool. I didn't get that one. I'm gonna write that. I'm gonna write that down. There ain't no patent on that. I'll use that at a later date and time. So no, that's great. Speaking of Branson too, we sang at Branson. Well, at least my mother sang at Branson, cool. And that was, man, how many years ago was this? She was it was at the recording studio in Branson.
Yeah.
Where she recorded there, and that was. Man, there was only one little drag. In fact, like the Grand Palace Theater was built like 3 years later after we were there. So we lived not too far, from about 45 minutes from Branson. And
Really?
man, that place has changed. And I haven't been there in 15 years, but I can tell you
neat.
15 years ago, like, it went on forever. I couldn't believe how much that place had grown up.
It's really neat. It's a really pretty, just how it's nestled in that hill. It's so cool. I loved it up there.
Yes, that was great. That is a great, lovely piece of the United States.
Definitely.
And then Christy was saying, favorite evening sitting around the fire under the stars, favorite people and tribe, pulling out the guitar, stellar. I agree. I agree. As long as Anthony's the one playing, I'm good for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes and my fingers start hurting again.
Well, my fingers don't hurt anymore, so I can play and you sing.
Oh, yeah. We'll see. We'll see how things are flowing.
Oh, that sounds like a yes.
Night. Yeah, we'll see how things are going. So what's next? What's next? Where are you going from here, Anthony? I mean, do you have more songs you're writing? Is there a goal? What's the end goal? Have you even thought of that?
Well, I mean, it's the same as I do think about that a lot because I do still work a job, and so I do both things. We own a security company, an alarm company here in East Texas. So I do that, and I think we're at a position where I need to kind of make a decision which thing do you want to do. And it's actually a harder decision than you would think. It's because I like work. I like being busy and doing things. I don't know that I want to get into a position where I don't have anything to do during my days, where I don't know if I can give up working. Now, that being said, as far as the music thing goes, I want to make songs. I want to write them, and I want to produce them in the studio. And we've got Smooth Operator, a new song coming, and it's not the Smooth Operator. It's a different song than that.
Great job on that, though.
It's a song I wrote when I was a teenager. It's one of those that's about somebody else, but the end goal I think is just to make music, just to leave a mark. My friend Carolyn Johnson, dear friend, and it lives here in the same town, a great musician, a great songwriter. She's got a song that's Will I Leave a Mark? And it's about she doesn't have any kids, and it's so her thought is, well, did I make a mark on this world? Like, when I'm gone, will there be any? And so that's kind of what I'm after. I'm after leaving a legacy of something. Not that, and maybe nobody will ever care once I'm gone. That'll be okay. But I just want to be the thing that I was made to be as much as I can.
That's great. That's great. I think the older you get too, it seems like you start questioning your purpose, I guess is the way, and not that I'm not happy to be here on the face of this earth. By far, I'm grateful, and I'd like to stick around as long as possible. But at the same time, I find myself pondering more, like, what am I doing? All those years. Isn't it funny how the world is set up that you're supposed to work and slave away the best years of your life?
It is strange.
And I feel like that should come after the best years are over. Like, and I'm not saying the best years are not yet to come, but at the same time, when you're young and you're healthy and you've got tons of energy and you spend it all in a factory or something like that, I'm like, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, what am I going to do? Leave my mark? That song right there, man, that is a great way of putting it.
It really is. And I've got my oldest younger brother, the one that asked me, that kind of, I give a lot of credit for bringing my songs back to me. He works his life away. He works 12s, and he has kids, so he spends time with those kids. But he gives a lot of his time. And I have never been the kind of guy that loves a 9-to-5 job, or even, honestly, I don't think at this point I'm capable. If I had to take a job working a 9 to 5, I think I could find a way to not eat. And
I would end up in prison at this point.
yeah. Well, I think I would be a pretty adept thief if I had to.
Right. No, that was, I actually thought I'd had Amber talked into letting me be a kept man. I thought, but yeah, that ended. That ended pretty quick. She told me I had to go back to work. So, I did go back 2 years ago. I left the nonstop working job, that kept throwing you more money. Like, hey, here's a little bit more. Stick around. Just, sell your soul for another year. Mm-hmm. But and I will say, getting back to my roots in the construction business, feel way better about it. And it isn't that I don't work as hard. It's that I guess being my own boss it's just a thing. Like once you've done it for so many years, it's hard. It's not that I have an authority issue, but it's just, if I feel like I need to get the garden planted and I'm not going to work today. Right. I mean, I guess that's the way it isn't about being lazy. It's about being free.
It is about being free as we can be, take all the freedom you can get.
Every single bit. There's my friend Byron Russell is in the house. What is going on, brother? Byron will be there. Black Armor Guns. If you haven't heard of them and you want some awesome rifles, that's the man to see right there. Black Armor Guns.
So what's going on? You said you were working on chicken brooders today.
Oh, Amber, she's one of them people who, if I don't get stuff done fast enough, then she just buys animals so that I have to, work harder. So now we've hatched all these chicks. She was like, oh, by the way, here's a bunch of chicks hatched. I ordered 40 more. Here's some more turkeys coming. And now the whole basement is full of chickens and turkeys. And, they need to get out. So I'm currently building the super chicken brooder, the mobile super chicken brooder. I built this on a little trailer.
Yeah.
And that way we can get all of our chicks out of the house. And so it makes the basement free for whatever amount of other animals that Amber has ordered that she hasn't told me
for the
about.
next batch.
For the next batch.
There you go.
Because that's how it always goes. But, and chicken math. Exactly, Byron, chicken math. And I was told that you're in game for your living area is a small homestead, 5 acres, animals, all that kind of stuff as well.
Well, I'm told that 10 is the number. 10's a lot for me to take care of, I think. We've been on a 1/4 acre for almost 20 years. But I think 10 seems like a lot, but they said that for whatever tax reasons, you need 10.
20.
Is it 20?
You should have at least 20. I tell you what, I have 40. Mm-hmm. We have 40 here. And I am stuck right dead in the middle, and no matter what moves in around me, the woods, I cannot see anyone, barely hear anything.
Really?
My neighbor is like a half mile down the road. That's the closest person to me. And so it depends. I like that if I want to go to Charlotte, which God forbid, I don't know why, but now and again I have to, in 2.5 hours, I'm in one of the largest cities there is. Mm-hmm. But where I'm here, I'm butted up to 67,000 acres of game land. I just disappear.
Wow.
I'm in my own little world of and secluded, and I can listen to the chickens and the dogs and the birds and the all bees and all that stuff. Yeah. And so 20, you need that as the bare minimum if you like that extra privacy. That's what I'm about.
Yeah. Well, I think the same thing. I'm more is always better, right? And
yes.
And you talk about animals. I love dogs. I'm such a big dog person. I'd like to take in all the dogs and bring them to my house, but Holly won't let me because we just have a 50 by 50 backyard, and we have 4 dogs. So, but
you need 20.
But yeah,
and see, Brian, Byron, he said, plus your driveway is 8 miles long. Now, Byron has an 8 mile long driveway, and it is awesome. He put his house way
8
back
miles?
into the woods there. Well, it's not 8 miles. I guarantee it's probably half mile
Is
back
it
into the
concrete?
woods.
White rock, crushed
No,
gravel?
it just gravel, just gravel.
Yeah.
But Byron is nestled back in there like an Arkansas tick, man, just buried. And we are too. We are too, way up into the hill. But that's where it's at. That's where it's at, man. You want that 20, and especially if you got 4 dogs and you like dogs, like we've got 2 Great Pyrenees.
I'd like to have 20 dogs.
There you go, a dog an acre.
Yeah.
That's dog math. You got chicken math. That's dog
You heard that,
math.
didn't you, Holly? Okay, good.
I'm sorry, Holly. Between you and me,
apologize,
I'm just it's just a podcast. I'm just messing.
Dog man.
Man, we flew through an hour. We flew
Is
through
it
an hour,
already over?
Anthony. We're an hour.
We didn't even
and
talk
one.
about what I wanted to talk about.
Hit it.
No,
Where
I'm
can
just
people
good.
find you, and when is your new? Because your new single was supposed to be coming out like right around now.
Well, it was, and I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but Holly screwed the pooch on getting it out on time. No, to be honest, I recorded it up in a studio of the guy. I love the guy, and when it came out, when he delivered it to me, it just didn't have the thing that I wanted the song to have. So we started all the way over at twice the expense, and I just want it to be, I don't get to make unlimited songs because I don't have a record label. It's just me footing the bill, and if I've paid for it, I want it to be good. So it feels like I'm throwing good money after bad, but I want the song to be reflective of kind of what it was. So that's the thing, and it's no offense to him. He's super talented, but that song now is postponed, and we hadn't even gotten back into the studio to do it. So it's releasable now, but I'm a perfectionist about some things.
Your own worst, your own critic. I'm critical as all get out of anything I do. So that's part of it. That's part of being artistic, though. You're always critical. You're your biggest critic. But where can people find you as well? We got guys scan that QR code.
There you go.
To
Right
find.
there.
You just scan that right there, and you have a podcast. Come and Pick It. That is on. How often is that on, Anthony?
Well, it's on semi-weekly. So, but it's seasonal. So we just finished filming season 2, and all those are going to be coming out here pretty quick. They're all out already? Oh, they're all out already. From what
they're already out.
I was just told that they're all
just
already
told
out.
by the
I thought
boss.
there were 1 or 2 that we hadn't finished releasing, but it's super fun talking to people that are above my station in life. Like that Jeff Dayton, that dude was Glenn Campbell's, his road manager for all those years.
Yeah.
So that's really neat just to hear some of those firsthand stories. And those guys when they're name dropping, they're just talking about their friends. So that's pretty cool.
that was they were the real deal, man. They were the real deal. I miss that. I don't know. I kind of miss that music from back in the day. But what you've got going on is top notch. And you are bringing a lot of that old sound into the new age. In my opinion,
pretty old.
Well, yeah. Hey, pot calling the kettle, I guess.
Yeah, but they can go to anthonybonnette.com and all my stuff is there, and you can go from there. It'll take you to the Spotify or the YouTube or the Pandora or whatever it is, Apple Music. However you listen to music, you can get to it from anthonybonnette.com.
You got all the links. And I know Holly did all that because she's good at all that stuff.
She did.
I was listening to you on YouTube. YouTube's my fir's go, but man, you've got Spotify, Facebook, Instagram.
Yep.
You're on X now. Where I follow you there on X.
I am. I have to watch out because I'm trying to be this country music kind of person, but the kind of stuff I like, I have to watch what I'm liking on there because it can get pretty close to anarchism. So I have to watch it.
At the
so
same
I like
time,
some
though,
things and then I unlike it.
right? I quit. Yeah, it is a thing, and I know Holly, she's smart on that stuff, but man, I feel like I'm kind of just bending backwards if I like it and then I unlike it again. You know, I'm like, it is a thing. It is a thing, but you know, it's the world that we live in. But Anthony, man, it was great to chit chat with you and actually, you know, kind of formally meet. And we are really looking forward to having you there at Mountain Readiness. It's going to be a blast. And just to meet you and Holly in person. And I know you guys have a great time. Guys, everybody follow Anthony. Follow this guy right here. And remember, get your tickets to Mountain Readiness. Come see us. Lead us out of here. Some parting words, Anthony.
Well, I'm super excited about coming up there. And Holly's more excited than I am to meet everybody and to maybe have a couple of brown waters up there. I've heard something.
It will be flowing.
That after dark, there's a campfire, and that's what I'm excited about. So I hope to see all y'all up there.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Until next time, guys, tune in next Monday. We only have a couple more Mondays before I take the break from lives. You guys can, quit tuning in here, listen to me run my yap, because I will be out setting up tents and getting ready. We are, I think, 18 days, 17 days out. It's right around the corner, y'all. So give Anthony some love. Come see us at Mountain Readiness, and the Russ of Oz back behind the curtain. Please roll us out, brother.